Good afternoon. It's a very beautiful time of the day, getting around 4 to 5 o'clock. And this is a beautiful day after the rains, and I was able to capture a rainbow earlier. And the little birds are out grazing in the grass. It's just a nice time to sit out here and reflect on my beloved Richard and some spiritual ideas that were coming to me. I was thinking about my Aunt Vonnie, who had very strong spiritual talents. And I remember long ago, this goes way back. Bless her heart, she passed. But this was like, I would say, in the 70s, the 1970s. And yeah, she didn't have a very happy marriage, and her life was not exactly peaceful at times. But she somehow came across the practice of, at that time, it was known as transcendental meditation. And it's just meditation is what it is. You just sit quietly. And she would go in her room, and she had a little sign saying, "Do not disturb," meditating. And she got to be very, very good at it. And I remember that we had some conversations of some of her experiences, that she was getting so good at it that she was beginning to see things before they happened. And I thought about that, and she told me about something about she saw a plane that was going to go down before it happened. And sure enough, the vision came true. So she was starting to get premonitions from meditation. And then I remember my mom telling me this story. Now, my mom also had a kind of sixth sense, if you will, spiritual capabilities, but she suppressed those gifts because she was a strong Christian, and there were certain things that she thought might not be in alignment with whatever she knew to, in her faith with Jesus Christ. She didn't really explore that avenue, but she had the abilities, but she just didn't want to go there. And it goes back to her family. She told me this story, and it always stuck with me. I thought, wow, that's really fascinating. She was just a little girl, she said, and something happened where in the family they were making some changes in the house, and there were some curtains or something that was very, I don't know, just some kind of valuable thing for the grandmother. I can't remember it completely. All I remember, what stuck with me, is they remember her coming back. The grandmother was dead, but they remember that they were doing something that she didn't like, and she came back, and she said, my mom said, and you heard it, there was this sound that electrified the air, and it was like a boom. She said it was like almost like just a loud boom, and they saw her appear, and she scolded them for, doing something that she didn't want them to do. And I just, what stuck with me was this idea that, wow, can the spirit actually materialize again for others to see? And it was just a fascinating story. And I said that, she says, yeah, it was real. She said it was real because we saw it, we heard it, and she said, and everybody got scared. And so it wasn't until many, many years later, when I was going to college, I read Paramahansa Yogananda, the autobiography of a yogi, and he described exactly that kind of, how would you say, event in which yogis would be able to materialize, and either from the other side, so to speak, from the other side of the veil, as they say, and also, even if the yogi was still alive, they could be in one place. And Paramahansa Yogananda explained how his own master would reappear or materialize, even though physically he was miles and miles away, but he would all of a sudden appear to him. And so, these metaphysical miracles, if you will, and spiritual miracles always sort of fascinated me. And I think it's some of these stories that got me on the path to study philosophy, and which is what I did. And I ended up getting a degree in philosophy, and I ended up teaching philosophy. But it was always rooted in, my interest in philosophy was always rooted in these questions like, how does this happen, and why does it happen, and how is the spiritual world connected with the physical world? And so I was just thinking about that as I was sitting here, looking at the beautiful sky and thinking about Richard, and conveying this idea to those who have listened that I don't feel separated from Richard, even though I feel a sadness of missing his physical presence. But I want to hold on and try to hold on to the idea that we're not really separated. If you can try to realize that we're not just physical beings, we're spiritual beings, and that we have a soul, and that soul is able to connect with those who have gone before us. And I had just kind of been thinking about that, and I'm not sure, where all of this is taking me. After Richard passed, I'm not sure what my journey is, but I do feel like whatever I do, it's going to be with him. And, there are some people that say, well, you need to go out and join some groups, go to a yoga class, or go, join up with people that are hiking somewhere, or bird watching, and, get more involved with social opportunities. And I was thinking, no, I really don't feel that. I mean, if I really did, I would do it, but I don't, because it's enough for me to have nature as my companion and my dog. it's enough for me to just sit out here and be in nature. And nature is my friend. These little birds that are out grazing in the grass that are so adorable, and seeing the deer come up and just being out here under the sky, this is what brings me close to what I believe, Richard's spirit, and close to God. Some people might say, well, in time, maybe, you might find somebody else. Somebody mentioned that to me, and, I just thought, not only do I reject it, the whole idea of being with anybody else, I wouldn't go so far as saying repulsive, but it's just it's just not in my path or journey of whatever I have left of my life. There's only one person in my life forever, and that's Richard. And I would never be interested in anybody. And I'm at an age where I don't need to have any kind of romantic relationship. I understand that with young women that have lost their husbands. That's a different story. If, widows that are in their 30s and, the sad event of losing their husband at a very young age, they still have their whole lives ahead of them, and they're not going to maybe want to be alone, and they'll end up maybe finding someone and getting married again and that sort of thing. But no, for me, I just want to see where this path takes me, and how my guardian angels, and Richard's one of them, where they take me and what they want me to do. I ask for their guidance. They don't interfere with your free will. Ultimately, you have to make your own choices, but I just ask for their guidance. And I also was thinking about my own family. Like, I thought, okay, my Aunt Fawny had this talent, this gift, and she got very, very good at it, and she was a healer. By that I mean she after she became really very good at going into deep meditation to the point where she was getting premonitions, she went on from that to study hypnosis. And she started she was hired to give classes in hypnosis to help people heal from different problems that they might have. And you might say that back then, people that were involved in hypnosis, they were like one of the first people that started ASMR. And by that I mean is they help them to relax their minds, to relax their physical bodies, to bring their minds into a quiet space, and also to imagine things that would help them to find peace. So, if you notice in hypnosis, one of the things my Aunt Fawny, I have a couple of tapes, thank gosh, that I saved, and I love to listen to them. She had a very soothing, calming voice. And one of the first thing that they tell you to do is just relax every part of your body. And they take, she took like one part of the body to the next, like relax your arms, let the tension go in your jaw. We hold a lot of tension in our jaw, and I didn't know that until I listened to her hypnosis tapes. And then I realized, wow, relax my jaw. At first it seemed weird, but then I realized, wow, I can feel the tension in my jaw and when someone tells you to relax it, you can feel it. You can feel that tension kind of letting go in certain parts of your body. And she was very, very good at it. And taking you through hypnosis. And then she would ask you to visualize a favorite place that you wanted to be. She said, if it's a beach or in the forest, imagine yourself walking along the beach. And it was just very soothing and very relaxing. And as I said, I think my mom had similar talents. And at the end of her life, I remember her telling me, I don't know if I should say anything about this because I don't want people to put me away, and think that I'm crazy. And I said, well, don't tell anybody that you think, is going to do that. And she said, but late at night, I see these colorful visions. Like I see that sometimes it's a beautiful bouquet of roses. And she said, and I see the colors and they're just vivid and bright and beautiful. And then, and she said, so real that I feel like I can just touch them. And, then she mentioned some other things and they were all, I said, well, Mom, none of them are causing fear in you, right? And she said, no, they're really very beautiful. And I said, they're symbols from heaven. And she thought about it for a minute and she said, I didn't think about it from that way. And I said, that's what they are. You're getting visions from heaven. And I said, it's not unusual, as we get closer to God and closer to the time when we're going to go home, that you're going to receive, sometimes visions and sometimes visitations from your loved ones, like from grandma or, somebody will come and visit. And I didn't even know why I was saying those things. They just came to me. I just spontaneously told her these answers, and it was not like it was even coming from me. And as I was saying it, I thought, I didn't even know that myself. But it felt right to me to tell her there's nothing to fear on seeing those things. But I did warn her, don't tell, other people, because some people may not understand that you're receiving these kind of beautiful images and visions from heaven. And I really, those were some of the moments that I loved with my mom. Even though we had a bumpy relationship a lot of the time, there were these moments of closeness. And I think I really helped her on that because she didn't know whether to be scared about that or not. And I think I helped her to accept it as something very beautiful instead of something to fear. So I'll end with that, and I hope you all have a good night, and keep the faith. All right, bye-bye.